What up? Oba Lurge is in the building, Oba Lurge is in the house, and you're welcome to the For the Culture podcast. Today, I have a very special guest, Mr. Ejino, a music programmer. Good morning, Mr. Ejino.
Morning, Oba Lurge. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So, how have you been? How's everything going?
We're surviving Nigeria, inshallah.
If the bosses are surviving Nigeria, what's the regular masses doing?
We're all surviving Nigeria, brother.
Right. So, meet Mr. Chris.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome, boss. So, you know what it is on For the Culture podcast. We're about giving people their flowers. We're about bringing it. We're about having insightful conversations. We're about educating the lovers of the show. So, Mr. Ejino, today I have just a few questions regarding music programming and all of that, and advice for musicians like myself. The first question will be, how do you curate music to ensure diverse and engaging experience for users?
So basically, right, first rule of programming or scheduling is to follow the trends. You have to follow trends. You have to follow what's in the culture. So it's basically taking an already produced work, mixing it up, and serving it back to the audiences. So I think for me, the audience determine what we serve, right? So there are channels where you can check feedback and see what is trending, what's happening. So by the time you check those channels and you see the feedback and you see what people are listening to, then it's just about curating those contents and sending it back to them.
Wow, that makes a lot of sense. So do you think data and analytics play a role in the music trends?
Data analytics play a huge role in music trends, right? Because if you're, say for example now, charts are built on data, right?
Okay.
Streaming charts, download charts, top 10s, top 100s, they are all based on data.
True.
And this data then you can use the raw feed of this data to then curate your playlist or curate your charts. So yes, I agree that data plays a huge role in curating music. You know, most times people say, oh, why is this song number 1 or why is this song number 2 get? Have you checked the data? Or say, oh, it's impossible. This person cannot be number 1 above this person. Have you checked the sales data? Have you checked the streaming data? So most times it's good to check the streaming data, you know, the background data, and see for yourself what the case is before you assume that this artist is bigger than this artist or this artist isn't supposed to be in this position. So basically, it's just data. We work with data now.
Here's some results
from my understanding about how the present music industry works, a lot of this streaming data can be manipulated.
Yes, so a lot of the streaming data can be manipulated, and that's why you don't use just one source.
Okay.
Right? So we accumulate data from all streaming platforms, not just Apple Music or Spotify. We also accumulate radio data and TV data. Then there are tools that are not available to everybody, but they're available to people like us, that we can use to see listenership in different regions, search heuristics, which songs are downloaded. You know, people still, in as much as everybody is on streaming platforms nowadays, people still download music.
True.
So we are able to check and see the raw downloads from regions that are not exposed to streaming platforms. Like if you go to regions like countries like Sierra Leone and the Gambia, they still download music. Even right here in Nigeria, if you go to the southeast, they still download a lot of music.
Fact.
They don't stream, they download a lot of music. So we have tools that can check out those downloads, and then there's a general tool that sums this data up, chunks it up, and gives you like a result.
That's because some weeks ago I went home because I don't stay far from Alaba, and right at my bus stop I still saw this guy with a laptop, and people were coming to pay him to put music on their phone.
You still have that happening. You still have that happening too. Unlike the days where Alaba was the entire data.
Shout out to Alaba, but Alaba really did their own 2 cents for the culture.
They did a lot for the culture.
Yeah.
They did a lot for the culture.
So how do you find balance between established artists and emerging artists when you're curating content? Because all of your content is not solely going to be based on trends.
Yes, even if you go to the clubs, established artists take precedence because people want to listen to popping songs, right? They want to listen to their favorite artists. They are Go. They want to listen to their Whiskey fans, their Davido fans, and Kiss Daniel fans, so everybody wants to listen to their favorite artists. And when these artists have new materials, everybody wants to listen to those materials.
Right.
But as industry experts, we understand that the industry doesn't run on established artists alone. You also have to give emerging artists an opportunity.
True.
So for me, what I try to do is I try to create a balance, right, between emerging artists and established artists. Established artists have the floor, don't get that wrong. But I try to see where I can also, most especially talents that are good, how I can push them in various ways. It could be having them being hosted at the club, it could be, pushing their music on some other platforms and stuff like that. But basically, if I identify an artist that is good, and I know that this person is good, and I see the material, and the material is worth it, I dedicate an extra effort, because I understand that my achievement, what I celebrate the most, is my ability to look back and say, I started playing this guy, or I pushed this guy before any other person believed in him. And it's happened severally with different artists. I won't want to call names, but each time we're at events and they are performing, I'll just stand back and I'll look, and I'll like 2-3 years ago, or maybe even most times even 6 months ago or 4 months ago, I remember when I said this guy was going to blow and no one believed in me, and now it's happening. So basically, I try to give established artists an opportunity, because the industry doesn't run on emerging artists, because the industry doesn't run on established artists only. So there always has to be a balance. You can't you as an emerging artist, don't deceive yourself. You're not going to get prime time, but if your content is good, trust me, you're going to get to a certain point. You're going to get
That's fair. I mean, this thing you just said about like being on stage and watching the artist. I remember some 10, 11, 12 years ago, when nobody knew Brian Moore, I took his CDs to acquire. But then I was still in secondary school. I was in like SS2 or SS3. I took his CDs to school. He doesn't even know about this.
Wow.
Recently, he blocked me on Twitter. I took his CDs to school, and my friends, as at then, this was 2009, 2010, they were using the songs for color tunes, and they were buying the CDs from me.
Wow.
And a lot of people started thinking we were even related. They were saying he was my cousin. That's why I'm doing all of this. And his house was not just far from my house, and I got on his music very early. So I mean, that's what happened. And it's all good. He blocked me. Shout out to him. So Mr. Chris, I mean, what do you think about the African music industry as we speak at the moment?
At the moment, I would say African music is taking over. You get, unlike some years ago, when you get to the club, we only hear something from the Western world. But right now, it's African music all through.
It's if I'll say it's crazy, because not so long ago, and this is 2017, right? We had a music policy. We had to emphasize a music policy of 70% local, 20% international. Yeah, 7% local, 20% international, 10% African.
Wow.
So that means in an hour, you should play at least 7 Nigerian songs, 2 international songs, and 1 African song in an hour. And I can tell you that in 2017, it used to be a problem to follow that protocol, because we didn't have enough content that were up to standard. So, and if you are going to try to be in tune with the current trends, not playing throwbacks, it was difficult to follow that rule. But I can tell you that as from last year, right now, the reverse is the case. So back in 2017, when you're playing, you're looking for Nigerian songs to make up, right? Right now, you can play a full day with just Nigerian songs, and you would now be looking for foreign songs to. I mean, which foreign song have you just to dilute the playlist, to dilute the mix, because left, right, center, Nigerian song. It's either a Nigerian song or it's an Amapiano song. Yeah. So right now we now have to follow the rule to help the foreign songs. You have to. I beg. There's too much, because there's too much Nigerian songs. So you don't have to play foreign songs like 1 or 2, even though it's just to dilute it. It's not as if big person is not as if nobody's listening to it, but just put it there, just put it there, just put it there. So it's amazing to see in such a short while how the local music industry has grown. And I can be controversial with this statement, but it's the absolute truth. I always say, in as much as we want to condemn Yahoo boys and say, oh, they are doing fraud, they are doing this.
Yeah.
When it comes to music, right, you need to give them their flowers. Yahoo boys are the people who invested in music. To be honest with you, running a record label is so expensive that only people,
1%.
only 1% of people you would talk to would see sense. In fact, if you tell anybody you want to invest in a record label with money you pump hard for, they will look at you like, this guy is smoking crack. And to be honest with you, people who invest in record labels are similar to people who do crack, because it's addictive.
Yeah.
You would blow your money, you would lose it in an artist. Most times, the artist even then succeeds and becomes stupid, goes back on your contract and stuff like that. No problem, you still look for another artist, put more money in there. So back then, right, before the industry grew to where it was, there used to be an empowerment program from the federal government for not just music, but for movies.
Okay.
But today, if you look at Nollywood and if you look at the music industry, you can see a huge difference between the both of them. And why is that? Was because more investors came into the music scene than the movie scene.
Yeah.
And these investors are not government officials. They are not bankers. Bank will not give you an unsecured 100 million naira loan to run a record label. It's not possible. It was these street fraudsters who put money. It was more or less like them, putting their money into something that invested in music. Who do you want to tell to come and buy a 1 million naira table at a concert? Someone, a director at a bank, how much is he earning with his family? So these were the guys that funded music events. And trust me, even up till today, events in Nigeria are not 100% profitable.
Yeah.
No, majority of the events in Nigeria are not 100% profitable. But these were the guys that put money down and said, you know what? Let's do this thing. Let's push this thing, because they loved it. So most of the times it's also a matter of interest, right? It's also a matter of interest. It was something they loved and it was something they invested in. And I'll give you a story.
Okay.
In 2016, south of France, there's a popular club. A group of Nigerians were there. And some boys walked up to the DJ and said, for each time you play Davido, 200 euros. For each time you play a Davido song, 200 euros. They played Davido so much that the rest of the patrons in the club were wondering what's happening. So these were things that were done to encourage the growth of our music industry. And Nigerians were everywhere and we show ourselves. Yeah. So once you're in the US, you're in a club in the US and he has small money, you say, if it's not. So that was more or less like how the industry grew, because Nigerians go out or go for holidays, they're in the club and they're buying the most drinks, because most people just come to
we flex the most.
We flex the most. And when they're in the club and they're buying drinks, they'll call the manager and say, oh, if you want us to spend more, you have to play Nigerian songs. And there are countries I go to now and I'm in the club and they're playing Nigerian music more than their local music. It's that bad. So basically, I would say the local industry, I agree with you that the local industry has grown so much from what it used to be, a few years ago.
Actually, so do you feel like the rise of Afrobeat is affecting hip hop?
So Afrobeat definitely has affected hip hop, and I won't say that in a bad way. For me, every genre has its time. Afrobeat too, if it doesn't evolve, has its time. It will come and it will go.
True.
Because if you go back to 2001, reggaeton was the in thing. Everybody wanted to go to South America. Daddy Yankee, Norega, Lumidi, all of them were trending at that point in time. It was a rise of reggaeton, right? But what happens with music, or what I've learned with music, is when you don't evolve, you get shut out. And gradually, Amapiano is shut now Afrobeats.
Do you think so?
A lot of people won't agree, but if you listen critically, you see that Afrobeats is evolving. well, if the original Afrobeat sound is evolving.
Yes, changing.
So I'm not sure if they give you, as an artist, if they give you a go gaga, go gaga beat, I'm not sure you're going to jump on
You
it.
don't vibe on it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the original Afrobeat sound is evolving, and that's in music. That's the only way to stay relevant. Your sound has to constantly change. The problem with these hip hop guys is they got stuck to their culture, right? If you look at the UK industry, for example, they started with bashment. They moved on from bashment to grime. Grime moved on to drill. Drill is moving on now to something else. They are beginning to infuse some Afrobeats in
Afro
it.
swing is called
Afro swing, yeah. So it's constantly evolving, but hip hop per se did not evolve. They got stuck to their sound, and that's why it's dying out.
Well, I feel like hip hop evolved from. I mean, Jay-Z does not rap like 21 Savage. Those are like two different generations.
So did 21 Savage evolve?
Yeah, he did.
I don't agree. He's still
Okay,
he's
man,
still
you
trapping.
mean, okay.
He's still trapping.
But then I really feel like there can be a balance because
It's the way it works, right? It's a wave and an undertow. You get caught in one.
but people like Sakudi, Mi, Kwesiako, they don't rap on hip hop beats. They rap on Afro beats. So that could be the balance that needs to be struck.
For that, right? I would leave that to the trend experts. They are the ones who would know how to comment on that. But for me, my thinking, my suggestion is for Sarkodie, right?
Yeah.
Sarkodie, or let me just even say for Sarkodie and Ice Prince, they cater to a generation, to our generation. If I go to the club and Azonto comes up, I'll rap it word to word, right? Rollies and Cigars plays in the club, I'll rap it word for word. But my 17-year-old cousin would not understand what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Or would not understand what why the hell I'm singing to Sarkodie, right? They are engrossed with Rema and the rest of them.
True that.
So for them, it's not about the genre. I think it's just about the time, and their time was our time. And if you don't completely evolve, that's why you see even in companies, right? People like us, we have Gen Zs that we have to listen to because this is their time.
Yeah.
We only act as gatekeepers, following the structure. We only keep the structure, but when it comes to the innovation part of it, you have to listen to the generation that you are in.
True.
You get it's like, and that's the problem we're having even in Nigeria, because the 1960s, 1970s generation do not want to they are trying to bring their thinking to this generation, and it's not going to work.
It can't work.
So it's passive. Generation is passive. They've set their time.
Even with the music, when my mom is listening to what we listen to, like, what are you listening to? It's not like Fela. It can't be
Exactly.
like Fela.
Exactly. So trust me, even in as much as we celebrate Fela, Fela is legendary. I'm not sure if Fela was dropping singles now.
We'll pay attention.
People will be listening to it as we celebrate his old songs. Do you get? So that's the truth. For those cats, we call them the old cats, right? They paved the way for these younger guys. There is no way they are going to be able to compete with the younger guys, because what these kids are listening to now, bro, it's not. We cannot comprehend it. I recall when Rema came out a few years ago. Older people were dissing Rema, like, what the hell is
They
this?
were even laughing.
They were laughing at him, but look at him performing in countries like Saudi Arabia, countries where I'm not sure our guys ever went to or would ever go to. So basically that's it. And that's how the generation that come after them too would conquer new boundaries and new frontiers.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's awesome. So my next question, being a veteran in the industry, how do you advise artists to go about music submissions and programmers and curators?
So basically, the best advice is to find more. If you have a manager, an experienced manager, I'm not talking about these days where everybody with a smartphone thinks he's an artist manager. There are situations where, so there was a time I booked an artist for an event, right? The event organizer spoke to me. I'm like, oh, please, we're trying to get close to this guy, and we see you're close to him. Can you talk to him? And I spoke to the artist, and we took them for an event. and I was doing road management for the artist instead of his road manager. Because his road manager was more concerned about taking pictures. So he was on stage, he was performing. And he was performing to a young crowd, students and all. And you know, students with this, their
Rowdy behavior.
So the artist was performing and he was flying a color contrary to the dominant sect in that community. And I called his manager and I told him, I said, tell your boy to take off his clothing. The colors he's wearing is a rival where we are. He didn't listen to me. So the rivals started gathering. And I'm backstage coordinating sound for the event because that was what
you went there for.
I went there for. But because I brought him to town, I didn't want a situation where a fight erupts
Safety.
and I'll be called out that, oh,
Yeah.
I was part of the organizers and stuff like that. So I kept on telling him that get a bouncer to stand at the edge of the stage. Something's about to stop. Baba was busy concerned about taking girls' numbers and this is someone who claims that he's a road manager. As a road manager, he was meant to be observing the activities, everything that's going around. No, he was busy collecting phone numbers, appearing in selfies, you know, drinking from the bottle. And so I observed some guys start gathering and they are whispering. And I just told the bouncer, I say, take this guy off stage now.
Wow.
The bouncer was like, let him confirm from the moment. I said, I'm the one telling you something is about to. Before I would even turn back, they started stoning bottles on stage. They had to escort us out of the venue with military police. It was that bad. So nowadays, a lot of people say, oh, I'm a manager, but there's a lot that goes into it, right? It's a selfless service. You can't be an artist manager if you too want to be a star.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
You can't because you would be struggling limelight with your artist. And most times, as a manager, you need to take yourself out of the limelight and showcase your talent. So basically, back to your question, how do you maximize the opportunity of getting discovered? That's how I would phrase that question.
Okay.
You need to work with experts in the industry. It goes from how you pitch. Even if you say I'm an independent guy, I don't have nobody's willing because I can't pay a manager, I can't pay this. First of all, start off by following rules and guidelines. So in my case, most times when artists reach out to me and say, upload your material on Google Drive, send me your Google Drive link. You have people send me a WeTransfer link. Or sending me a YouTube link and asking me, Baba, just download that from YouTube. So already you haven't followed guidelines. Upload on Google Drive, send me Google Drive link. There's a reason. The reason why is because why we emphasize Google Drive is Google Drive doesn't expire. And I'm often very busy. So you might send me a WeTransfer that expires in 7 days. And I might not be able to come back to your link for like 8 days.
True.
I might travel. I might be working or something. So by the time I come back and try to check your link, it's expired. Then again, you have the situation where with Google Drive, I can preview without downloading. So I can easily give you a feedback and ask you, has this been color corrected? Is this quite easy? But with WeTransfer, I have to download and watch. I don't have that time because I'm attending to so many other things. My own personal life, work, fitness, Nigeria, enjoyment, women. No. Men. I don't want that. You know. So if you have to be discovered, you need to follow guidelines properly. Sure. If the person says put your material on flash drive and send, put it on a flash drive. Don't start asking, can I use hard drive? Can I use VCD? Can I use DVD? It says flash drive, flash drive. Also, when you're sending in materials for review, you need to address your material properly. Email to the person you are sending it to or to the address you're sending it to. If you're sending by email, the person's email, don't send, if you're sending material to me sending material to maybe Osi Suave now, or you send it to Tunde now, you now jumble Tunde not Osi Suave, this one, that one, this one, that one. It makes you look unserious.
Okay.
There's something called BCC, blank carbon copy. So if you're sending to me, you can blank carbon copy every other person.
Okay.
Right. So what happens is, I don't need to see who is on your trail. OC doesn't need to see who is on your trail, basically. Right? Just put your material, send it. That's one. Two, addressing. Oba Lurge, title of material. It's easy because these guys get volumes of material, right? So it's easy for them to track your material. He might not see, or he might see it and he skips it. Tomorrow you guys meet at the club and say, oh, Oti, I beg, I've been sent something to you. You don't see him. He knows your name is Oba Lurge. So he goes back to his email and searches Oba Lurge and he sees your material because you addressed it properly. Introduction. Hi, Osi. My name is blah, 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 blah. Kindly check this out for your consideration. Don't just carry link and dump in an email with no header. Sometimes you send the subject as you put the link as the subject of the email. Things like that will affect you because it will be difficult for your stuff to be tracked or to be discovered. Bear in mind that these guys are attending to several other people.
True.
I'm not saying it's 100% guarantee that you work, but at least it will place you in a certain position. The second thing is you need to reach out to people outside of workplace, right? Most of these guys hang out a lot. Identify where they go to. The truth of the matter is, in the industry we are now, personal relationship does a lot more.
It does.
Because I call it the noise war. We have too much noise going on in your personal life, in the workplace, in the country as a whole. So when there's a personal relationship, you can always reach out to this person and say, oh, bro, did you check this? Did you see this? Subtly, and the person will follow up. But most guys would call you once, you don't pick you in a meeting. He'll call twice, and then he calls like 5 more times. At that point in time, the person is pissed and then puts your number on the DND. That means you cannot reach the person again. So, personal relationship and just respect people's space in time. As long as you follow procedure, they will get to you. And for me, that's like the easiest way. Or if you can hire a manager who is experienced, and they'll go about it for you. Oh, sorry. Please, I'd like to take that again.
Yeah,
you can do it.
Okay. Can you ask the question again?
Okay. Being a veteran in the industry, how do you advise artists to go about music submissions?
So basically, first rule, check out the submission guidelines. Always follow submission guidelines. And most times where artists get it wrong is in subject matter. If you're sending in a material, it has to carry your name as an artist and the subject of your material. That way it's easier to search and track. That's one. Two, you need to build personal relationships with most of these guys, right? Because they get overwhelmed with different materials and it's easier to connect. When there's a screening session, you have like 20, 30 materials that are being screened. Most times there's a blockage, from listening to too much rubbish. You tend to even skip the good ones. But most times when you have a relationship with these guys, or when you're able to reach out with these guys at off times, right, off periods where they're not talking, and you say, oh, I sent this, I feel like my material is quite good, but I didn't get like the response you was meant to get. They're able to then go back in their own quiet time and listen and say, okay, maybe I missed something, or maybe I was impatient, and listen to it. So basically the first rule of getting discovered is follow guidelines. And I'll tell you that 70 to 90% of the people who send in materials don't follow guidelines. Once you follow guidelines, it's easier to get your materials discovered. And also do your work. So you'd say you're an artist, right? Your social media page has one picture. You're not Whiskey.
Even Whiskey does not have one picture.
Jay-Z can afford to open an Instagram account without a culture and have 10 million followers or 1.2 billion followers.
That's whole.
He's Jay-Z, he's Hove. He has gotten there. You are not Hove.
Oh, you're far.
You are far from Hove. I doubt if you even have 10,000 streams on your EP. And you have an Instagram page that has just one picture with no relation to music. It's just maybe you with smoke in your mouth in a black room.
Feeling fly, your face is not even there.
So you have to do your own work, right? You have to push your material. Most times, and nowadays, to be honest with you, digital is a channel that pushes more artists than even conventional methods, right? Talk about TV, talk about radio. I've seen more artists blow up on TikTok nowadays than they have on any other platform.
True.
So
a lot of labels even streamline their marketing campaign to just TikTok.
exactly.
And they pour all their resources on TikTok.
Because the Gen Z guys, so I had a couple of Babcock students come to my house a few weeks ago, and we're having brunch. So I put on the TV on the music channel. These kids never looked at the TV for 1 second. For the 4 hours they were in my house, they were on their phones on TikTok.
Imagine.
Until they left. Once they hear a song they like, they would
Shazam.
Watch it, listen, Shazam, and they are back to TikTok. So that's the evolution we're talking about. That's how music has evolved.
Yeah.
To different other channels, not just terrestrial or satellite.
True. So with the rise of streaming platforms, how do you suggest radio and TV stations adapt to stay relevant?
Well, a lot of people are already doing that. A lot of platforms are already doing that. A lot of radio and TV platforms are already doing that. So you have these guys have their playlists on streaming platforms.
Oh, okay.
Right? They already have playlists on streaming platforms. So they are trying to connect with the new audience, right? Then they are for like DSTV now. DSTV has mobile streaming on mobile devices. You can still watch your TV programs on the go. So for now, in our society, digital is not that powerful yet, and I'll tell you why. Because if you check the research, if you check the data, a lot of people still consume media from traditional media types like TV and radio. So digital is coming here, but it's going to take like another 3-4 years before it can even compete with traditional methods, and it's going to take like another 6 years before it can overwhelm the traditional methods. So, in as much as yes, we think the new, the evolving forms of music consumption is coming up, we still need to pay attention to the traditional methods. There's still power in there.
Of course, that's for a fact. But I feel like the only reason a lot of emerging artists would consider social media before radio and TV is funds.
Trust me, it's not even with social media. You spend money.
If
you want to get an influencer, you're going to pay them, which is even more expensive. But the truth of the matter is, it's not about funds, right? It's not about promotion. It's about content. Let me not say originality. It's about content. If your content is good, I keep saying this to everybody. If your content is good, it will go. And I'll give you a story. What's his name? Therapist.
Okay. Yeah.
Had bookings in Nigeria before I even knew
who he was.
But everywhere I go to the club, the song was played, and then I have people calling me and say, "Oh, please, this therapist," and I'm like, "Who is therapist?" Funny thing, his auntie is my friend.
Crazy.
So when she messaged me, I was like, "Oh, my nephew is dropping a video. Would need your help with it." I was like, your nephew sings?" And she was like, "Yes." And I said, "Okay, send it to me." And then she sends it to me, and I'm previewing, and I hear the song. I'm like, "This is your nephew."
I know this song.
Yes. I said, so I never knew the guy, but I was hearing him everywhere. So if you have good content, and I tell people this thing over and over, you cannot, no matter how much you want to spend paying influencers, paying DJs, whatever. You cannot force bad music on people.
Oh.
They will not listen. And most people hate me in the industry because I'm usually very blunt. When you send me something, oh, bro, this is the next out there, bro, this is trash. Honestly, as my friend, and also to save you
Cost.
unnecessary stress from stressing yourself. So, and it's getting worse because every Tom, Dick, and Harry with a laptop and money to pay a producer is an artist now. People have completely skipped. There's a meme I saw where you see the guy the last step and then he's going to the final stage, like he's stretching the final stage. I said artists nowadays. And it's true because people skip the development process. They skip the boot camps, you know, they skip the recording trainings, they skip the writing and everything and just go straight to recording and shooting music videos. But those days, in my days, I used to be a producer and a writer.
I know.
When you produce one song, Baba, you will not travel to Alaba. Give it to the marketers listening. You now listen to it and tell this is rubbish. You will not go back. Right. So then your hit single will determine if you should release an album. But nowadays you don't even have a hit single and you're putting on an EP. Okay, what do we want to listen to? So I think people are completely skipping the process. Spend time developing yourself. Bring out a hit material, and I guarantee you'll be in your house and they'll be calling you for bookings.
That was really. I mean, this has been a very insightful conversation.
Thank you.
Mr. Ejino, thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you.
Mr. Chris, I mean, we didn't get to talk a lot, but
Some other time.
most definitely. Most definitely. I still remember your humble boy. Oba Lurge is in the building. Oba Lurge is in the house. I think I also run away from hip hop. Because
Yeah, you need to. Hip hop is gone. Hip hop is dead.
Don't get stuck.
Hip hop is dead.
Don't get stuck.